Hello guys, thank you for watching this video. Today I'm going to talk about the omen of COVID-19 which showed up in 2019 already, and the prediction of 2022. So let's get started. The COVID-19 omen showed up in November 2019. Pope Francis traveled to Japan, over 9,800 kilometers away from Rome. It was the first time travel in the last 38 years since Pope John Paul visiting, and his purpose of visiting was to protect all of life. This is the energy flow when Pope Francis traveled to Japan. People who watched all of my YouTube so far, you could recognize something extraordinary. It turned out Pope Francis traveled the double worst energy flow with ghost ascendant cancers, both suicide energy and homicide energy, in other words. This is clearly an anomaly. At the time, I had goosebumps from head to toe when I found out about this, thinking something terrible is going to happen. As I have continued to explain since the last video, the northeast is called the Demon's Gate, and this direction must be handled with the greatest care among all directions. The double collaboration of that northeast with ghost ascendant cancers means that prosperity of the descendant will be disrupted and extinct. In other words, Pope Francis must have already predicted this subconsciously. As I told you in my last video, an influential great person like him tends to be proactive and pay ahead of time to save people. To travel with this extraordinary energy is to be prepared to die for him. So if the Pope Francis had not made the choice to cut himself off at the time, we might have been in more trouble. Also, strangely enough, the number of corona deaths in Japan is low compared to other foreign countries, so his energy may have worked as a ward beforehand. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank him. Basically, changes of the energy flow by traveling or moving occur at the third strand, third time, third day, third month, third year, and the fourth strand, the change of energy appears in form. Then, at the seventh strand, the form becomes clear. At the 13th strand, the form is fulfilled. At the 15th strand, the form matures and fades away, giving rise to the energy to create a new form. So if you have a beautiful mind and a decent person, you are called from the good luck direction and move or travel toward the good luck energy flow. You shift up and change with these cycles. But if you have a negative mind, you are called from the bad luck energy flow and you decline with these cycles. After an explosive outbreak in China, the corona gradually spread to Japan from the beginning of the year 2020, riding on the energy of ghosts in the east. East is the fastest energy in all directions, so the combination of ghosts energy caused it to spread rapidly. The first peak of the outbreak in the world occurred in Italy in February, just 3 months after Pope Francis' travel. After that, the infection spread all over the world. In this way, we can predict what will happen in the next 1, 3, 4, 7, 10, 13, 15 months based on the unusual movement of the world's important people. As we approach the end of the year, I encourage you to follow the movements of famous people in your country with this wisdom. If you do so, you may be able to find out what the year 2022 will be like, just like a preview of a movie. Predicting invisible trends can be a rough indicator of various choices such as whether to buy or sell stocks, buy real estate, or buy a condominium, or whether to get a pneumonia vaccine. Interestingly, in my house, when I went home in the fall of 2019, my mother was wondering if she should get the pneumonia vaccine or not, saying that everyone has gotten sick after getting it and has avoided it until now. However, I knew that Pope Francis was about to visit with the worst energy flow, so I was able to advise her that she should have the vaccine. As a result, she finished the vaccine before the end of the year 2019. Of course, this pneumonia vaccine is not effective in controlling coronavirus, but it is very important to make the decision to avoid all hazards and risks in the smallest of everything. And it was on New Year Eve that I became convinced that it was a good idea to recommend the vaccine to her. When I returned to my parents' house, my 8-year-old cat is dying. To my surprise, it turned out to be pneumonia. That's when it all clicked. there might be an epidemic of pneumonia. Of course, I didn't even know the word corona at that time, so I felt that it might be an inflammation of pneumonia such as tuberculosis. Because 2020 is a year with 7 in the center, which means lung. So I felt that something related to lung might be coming in the year 2020. So I prepared a few months' supply of Chinese mild medicine in advance to take all eventualities into account at that time. These worst-case scenarios will happen again at a certain timing. However, there is nothing we can do about it with the so-called law of attraction thing. And with the trend of so many people losing their lives, jobs, and homes, I'm skeptical that the law of attraction is really effective on the practical level to make our life better. The ability to avoid the worst-case scenario with practical wisdom is something else again. The definition of happiness can be said to be the removal of the worst. It is not the same as attracting what you want. Removing the worst and knowing enough is my definition of happiness, my definition of success, and the reason why I'm talking about wisdom to you right now. In other words, happiness is not an addition, but a subtraction. Know that enough is enough, and get rid of the worst, because in the end, we tend to choose the very worst. Now let's go to the forecast for 2022. This is a year of strong natural cataclysmic energy. The reasons are as follows. 2022 is the year of the tiger and the 5-star will be in the center, which is a rare combination of once in 36 years. In addition to this, there is a strong destructive energy called Heaven and Earth conflict, Tenkokchichu. This will appear in August. So August will have a particularly strong destructive effect, but you will see glimpses of this effect throughout the year. The overall trend in 2022 is the complete destruction and elimination of people, things, organizations, companies, regions, and countries that have been promoted in the wrong way for a long time. This is irreversible, and then we will head for the flow of regeneration in the next 9 years. So what kind of phenomena will appear? Bankruptcy of a large company that has been mismanaged. People who have been taking money from others will see their lives collapse. Please be careful of landslides, riverside, waterfront, and land like a combination of mountains and waterfront. If you are involved in land, real estate, or condominiums, house that are being constructed at this time, including the case now under construction and the people start to live on this timing, you will be involved in a major disaster, so please be careful. Do not invest in this type of thing. And please be careful if you are in the process of getting married, finding a job, or starting a new project at this time. Shakeout and destruction are implied. So if you are in this currency, you need to reconsider why you are in this flow. Those who have been living in the wrong direction, gosatsu and tensatsu, will be completely shunned by society. The more you deviate from your fate, the stronger the energy of elimination and destruction will be on this timing. In particular, the month of May brings strong suggestions of natural disasters, so please be careful if you live in a place with these characteristics of the former slide. In the human world, conflicts between people, organizations, regions, and countries will become more pronounced as a result of clashing values, and depending on the direction of these conflicts, the degree of explosion in August will vary greatly. The key will be to be able to accept each other's differences in values, but it would be difficult. However, not only bad things will happen, there are also indications of fortuitous good fortune, and those who have been working hard up until now will see their fortune come like peonies off a shelf. Also, an advanced cure for corona that does not require a vaccine may be discovered by chance at this time, which may change the course of treatment in the future. So let's wait and see. From here on, I would like to concentrate on explaining the details of this extraordinary energy. I have analyzed the history and given some very important advice, so please watch until the end. Let me give you a more familiar possible concrete example, which you should not do. Let's say you are a mountain climber. You go mountain often and you feel you know well about mountain or climbing. And on the timing of Tenkokchichu, you start to feel like you want to try some mountain you have never been before. This is exactly the dangerous energy pattern you should avoid on this timing. If you actually climb the mountain with this flow and condition, it has the possibility of causing serious injury, accident, or even death. The characteristics of this strong corruption energy would happen not at the end of climbing the mountain, but at the beginning of climbing the mountain. This means that you could lose your life within the first 10 minutes of starting out. Therefore, it is better not to do this kind of thing not only in August, but also before August and after August. If you are trying to do something similar energy in your own daily life, please be careful. I'll tell you why I'm making these predictions. 35 years ago, the year of the Tiger and the 5 stars, 2 extraordinary accidents occurred. The scale of the incident was cosmic. Do you know or do you remember what it was? The first one was the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster on January 28. It was a fatal accident in the United States space program. When the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds in its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The energy of this accident is exactly the energy of Heaven-Earth conflict with tiger and monkey. This is the energy of the tiger being disturbed by the monkey, which is 180 degrees on the other side. At the same time, the 7 sign counting from the tiger. The 7 people who passed away by coincidence may have come from this 7. On the 12 animal energies, the tiger is the energy of the strong breath of spring that is about to come into view. In other words, the energy of being disturbed at the beginning of things. It comes from this energy. Therefore, it is better not to do things like the specific example of mountain climbing that I explained earlier. Also, please be very careful of people, situations, environments, and organizations that are charged with sprout-like energy, as they are likely to be eliminated and destroyed by this energy. The summer of 2022, free from the long years of repression under the coronavirus, is expected to be a time when many people will be doing things for the first time that are unfamiliar to them, or are traveling to places for the first time. So please be careful not to be too open-minded and try new things. Next, I would like to talk about the worst accident in history, the Chernobyl disaster. It was a nuclear accident that occurred on Saturday, 26 April 1986, at the number 4 reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This accident is a combination of what I have explained in YouTube first and second, so you should definitely watch first and second before watching this for a better understanding. The biggest problem is already at the very beginning. The decision to build the Chernobyl nuclear power plant with 2 units was made in September 1971, with the energy flow of Arkansas, the homicide energy, the worst energy on the earth, and construction began on 15th August 1972. These conditions already indicate that it would lead to an explosion on a cosmic scale. A year after the homicide energy was on set, 15th August 1972, it was a special day of the tiger-monkey crash energy under the same heaven energy, Tsuchinoe, earth energy. This implies that things will all go back to a blank slate. The rat and the monkey are good friends who create water. When the dragon is added to the mix, they create an expanded energy called the triumvirate of water. However, when the tiger, 1986 years energy, and April, dragon energy are added here, it is going to get mixed with the conflict energy and affinity energy. When affinity energy and conflict energy are mixed, it causes aerial decomposition. Also, in 1986, 5 star was in the center. As a result, it caused the worst accident in history. Again, what started out as a long flow like Gossas and Ankensatsu will get worse with the cycle of 1, 3, 4, 7, 10, 13, 15. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant was torn to pieces in 1986, 5-star year, exactly 15 years after the official decision to build a nuclear power plant was made in 1971 with Arkansas flood. It is also the same reason that the cause was the explosion of the number 4 reactor. The 5-star year is the time to weed out what has been wrong so far. People, organizations, companies, and countries that started things in this way will inevitably perish. 2022 August is a special energy where the tiger, monkey, and the 5-star combine in year and month, so it is not surprising that there will be more major incidents and accidents than this Chernobyl. I sincerely hope that nothing will happen to you. So please take the advice I gave earlier into your life and stay safe. See you soon.